Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear postgraduate students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is lecture number 3 of the series of lectures regarding academic English I for the first semester. The topic of this lecture is writing skill, the second section of Unit 3, pages 18 to 19. So the second section is about writing skills, and the topics of this section is how to write sentences, how to write paragraphs, varying text structure, writing and articles. The aim of this section is to focus students' attention on the need for clarity in their writing through good punctuation, good use of linking words, and good organization. Students will look at how similar ideas are grouped in paragraph and how one paragraph should lead logically on to the next. The first exercise in the writing section, which is titled Mistaken Identity, is related to study skill about sentences. The first point in this study skill is write short and clear sentences. So one of the common mistakes in your writing is writing too long sentences. Please avoid writing long sentences and instead divide them or the long sentence into short and clear sentences. Join ideas and sentences using linking words. So, as we explained in the previous lectures, that there are linking words, and there are many linking words. Each of them is for specific purposes. We already learned how to use but, however, and although to link contrast ideas. There are other types of linking words such as after, and there is here referred to the study skill page 13 about however, but, and although. Punctuate correctly using capital letters, full stops, question marks, and exclamation marks. We already focused on this point in the first lecture, but you still have many mistakes regarding punctuation. However, you still have many mistakes regarding punctuation. So please work on that, learn and practice to control the problem of punctuation. Now, exercise number 1, look at paragraph 1 of the newspaper article A Case of Mistaken Identity on page 19. Separate it into 6 sentences, punctuate the sentences correctly. So if we have article in page 19, A Case of Mistaken Identity, we will read it and try to separate it into 6 sentences. Then punctuate them correctly. A case of mistaken identity. Have you ever been mistaken for someone else last week? Mr. John Taylor, an Australian businessman, went to Paris for an important meeting. He was sent by the Australian government to give a speech to French businessmen and women. It was to encourage more trade. It was therefore a very important speech, and Mr. Taylor had prepared it carefully. At the same time, Mr. Powell Taylor was also traveling on the same flight to Paris. So, This paragraph is actually one sentence. It's one sentence about 6 lines and a half. It is required to divide them into short 6 sentences. Let us start with the first line. Have you ever been mistaken for someone else last week, Mr. John Taylor? So, we can see there is a question here because it started with a verb. Have you ever been mistaken for someone else? The question should be ended at the end of the word else. Have you ever been mistaken for someone else? So this can be the first sentence. Have you ever been mistaken for this someone else? So this one is the first sentence. Regarding punctuation, because have is the beginning of the sentence, so it should be started with capital letter. And because it is a question, so it should be ended with a question mark. The second section, sentence. The second sentence started with last week. Last week, Mr. John Taylor, an Australian businessman, went to Paris for an important meeting. He was sent by the Australian government to give a speech to French businessmen and women. So, we can choose a sentence have one idea. Last week, Mr. John Taylor, an Australian businessman, went to Paris for an important meeting. This is the end of the second sentence. Mr. John Taylor, an Australian businessman, went to Paris for an important meeting. Because meeting is the end of the second sentence, so we should use full stops after meeting. And also because last is the beginning of the second sentence, so last should be started with capital letter. Let's go to the third sentence. He was sent by the Australian government to give a speech to French businessmen and women. It was to encourage. So it here is like starting of a new sentence. In this case, the the sentence will be ended with the word women. Mr. John Taylor, an Australian businessman, went to Paris for an important meeting. He was sent by the Australian government to give a speech to French businessmen. Third sentence. He was sent by the Australian government to give a speech to French businessmen and women. Full stop. Full stop. And he should be written with capital letter. It was to encourage more trade. It was, therefore. It was to encourage more trade. So this is a sentence. This is one idea or one new. It was to encourage more trade. So it was to encourage more trade. Full stop. It should be started with capital letter. It was, therefore, a very important speech and Mr. Taylor had prepared it carefully. At the same time, Mr. Paul Taylor was also traveling on the same flight. So from this art, there is a new idea. So this could be the end of the fifth sentence. Then the fifth sentence is, it was therefore a very important speech and Mr. Taylor had prepared it carefully. It was therefore a very important speech and Mr. Taylor had prepared it carefully. Full stop. Full stop. It should be started with capital letter. The last sentence is, At the same time, Mr. Paul Taylor was also traveling on the same flight to Paris. At should be started with capital letter and ended with full stop. So regarding the punctuation, we have should be started with capital letter. He, it was, at the same time. This is the beginning of sentences and should be written with capital letter in addition to last week. Exercise number 2. Complete paragraph 2 of the article using the words in the box. We have 6 words in the box: after, and, unfortunately, but, because, so. These words are considered linking words. Linking words. Linking words, for example, and links two similar ideas. Links two similar ideas. After gives the chronological sequence. Gives the chronological sequence. So gives the result of the previous ideas. So gives the result of the previous ideas. Unfortunately, introduces some bad news. Introduces some bad news. But shows contrasting information because gives the reason for an action. Because gives the reason for an action. So this is an explanation about the purpose of using each of these linking words, and we will try to use them to complete paragraph 2. Paragraph 2. It was a comfortable flight. His plane arrived on time. So the first idea, it was a comfortable flight. The second idea, his plane arrived on time. So here, these two ideas could be similar or could have a chronological sequence. Or maybe this is a reason of or result of the first idea. So there are several suggestions. We could use and, we could use because, we could use so. In this case, if there is hesitation in using or deciding the word, we can go to the second blank, and after the completion we can go back to the first blank. So let's continue. John Taylor was expecting a driver to pick him up from the airport. Going through customs and immigration control, he went to find the driver. So, the idea here, John Taylor was expecting a driver to pick him up from the airport. So his plane arrived on time. He was expecting. Going through customs and immigration control. Customs and immigration control is a place in the airport. When you enter the airport, you should go to this place in order to check your passports and then give you permission to enter the country. So this idea, the second idea, he went to find the driver. He went to find the driver. So because he firstly should go through custom and immigration, then it means we can use after here. After going through customs and immigration control, he went to find the driver. He saw a man who was holding a sign saying Mr. Taylor. He introduced himself. He saw a man who was holding a sign saying Mr. Taylor. This is like an idea. He introduced himself. This is like a result. So we can say, so he introduced himself. Because he saw a man who was holding a sign saying Mr. Taylor, So he introduced himself. The driver replied in French. Mr. Taylor didn't speak French. He did understand the words hotel and seminar. So the driver replied in French. Mr. Taylor didn't speak French. He did understand the words hotel and seminar. Here in blank 5, we can use words linking two opposite ideas because Mr. Taylor didn't speak French. He did understand. So we can use but. We can use but. Mr. Taylor didn't speak French, but he did understand the words hotel. But in the blank 4, because it is the beginning of the sentence, this is a bad news that Mr. Taylor did not speak English French. So we can use unfortunately. Unfortunately. Blank number 6. The meeting was early that morning. John Taylor decided to go straight to the seminar. So this is like a reason because the meeting was early that morning. John Taylor decided to go straight to the seminar. So this here we can use because. He nodded his head and the driver and repeated at the driver and repeated seminar. So the one word we have not used is and should be used in the first blank. Now, second paragraph with the filling words are: it was a comfortable flight, and his plane arrived on time. John Taylor was expecting a driver to pick him up from the airport. After going through customs and immigration control, he went to find the driver. He saw a man who was holding a sign saying, "Meet Mr. Taylor." So he introduced himself. The driver replied in French. Unfortunately, Mr. Taylor did not speak French, but he did understand the words hotel and seminar. Because the meeting was early that morning, John Taylor decided to go straight to the seminar. He nodded his head at the driver and repeated. Exercise number 3. Read the beginning of the paragraphs 3 and 4 of the article. Choose which sentences A or B from 1 to 5 belong to each paragraph. Read the paragraph. So now, in the previous exercise, we practice in using linking words in order to link sentences. Now we have two paragraphs, 3 and 4. This exercise is an attempt to predict the content of the paragraphs from the sequence of the events. Each paragraph is about an event, so we should focus on the sequences of this event and group them in one paragraph. We have paragraph 3 and paragraph 4. Paragraph 3 should come before paragraph 4. So the sequences of events should be in the chronological sequence. An example, sentence 1, we have two sentences A and B. One of them belongs to paragraph 3 and the other belongs to paragraph 4. Let us read the beginning of both paragraphs. Paragraph 3. While the car was speeding through Paris, Mr. Taylor went through his nose one more time. While the car was speeding through Paris, Mr. Taylor went through his nose one more time. So from the beginning of this paragraph, we can understand that the events of this paragraph is happening or was happening on the way. Let's go to the paragraph 4. The organizer returned a few minutes later. In this paragraph, we can see that there is another one which is the organizer. So the organizer returned a few minutes later. So now we can choose the sentences that related to the organizer to put them in paragraph 4 and that related to the car or the way in paragraph 3. Let's go to the first sentence, which contains A. Then the car stopped in front of a large conference center. B. He told John that everything was ready for him. So the first one, A. Then the car stopped in front of a large conference center. It means it related something related to the car, and because paragraph 3 is about the car, is started with the car that was Mr. Taylor inside it. So this paragraph, this sentence belongs to paragraph 3. While the sentence B, he told John. So we have someone, he told John, and almost this he is belongs to the organizer. So it means sentence B is belongs to paragraph 4. While the car was speeding through Paris, Mr. Taylor went through his nose one more time. Then the car stopped in front of a large conference center. Paragraph 4. The organizer returned a few minutes later. He told John that everything was ready for him. Let's go to sentence 2. Sentence 2. Mr. Taylor jumped out of the car with his briefcase and rushed into the center. Again, he is still in the car. It means that this sentence belongs to paragraph 3. Mr. Taylor jumped out. Mr. Taylor jumped out of the car with his briefcase and rushed into the center. Sentence B, follow me, please, he said. So it is a conversation between two people, and these two people in paragraph 4, organizer and Mr. John. So, follow me, please, he said. Sentence 3. A. John Taylor got up, checked his tie was straight, and picked up his briefcase. So, Mr. Taylor got up. It means he was sitting. He checked his tie was straight and picked up his briefcase. Sentence B. To his relief, he was greeted in English by the conference organizer. Okay. This sentence means that Mr. John have not met the organizer yet, while in paragraph 4 he already met the organizer. It means that sentence B belongs to paragraph 3. There, to his relief, he was greeted in English by the conference organizer. In this case, sentence A belongs to paragraph 4. The organizer returned a few minutes later. He told John that everything was ready for him. Follow me, please, he said. John Taylor got up, checked his tie, was straight, and picked up his briefcase. Let's go to sentence 4. He followed the organizer out of the room. It is very clear that here it is belong to paragraph 4 because he already with the organizer. And the second sentence, which is welcome to Paris. Mr. Taylor said the smartly dressed organizer, and he led John Taylor down a long corridor and into a small room. This belongs to paragraph 3. and he followed the organizer, paragraph 4. The last one, A. After giving Mr. Tyler a coffee, the organizer went off to make sure everything was ready. B. The organizer opened a door and led John Tyler into a large hall full of school children. Now, both of them, there is organizer. Now, he already met the organizer in paragraph 3. He met the organizer, and also there's organizer. So, which one should uh, to which paragraph should belongs sentence A, and to which paragraph should belongs the sentence B? Sentence A, after giving Mr. Tyler a coffee. Giving a coffee to a person, it means that he is sitting in a room. The organizer went off to make sure everything. So, welcome to Paris, Mr. Tyler, said the smartly dressed organizer, and led John Tyler down a long corridor and into a small room. He is now in a small room, so almost sentence A belongs to paragraph 3. After giving Mr. Tyler a coffee, the organizer went off to make sure everything was ready. But here the organizer opened a door and led John Tyler into a large hall full of scholarship. Because he followed the organizer out of the room, it means he went to a different room. And here the organizer opened a door of a different room. So this means this sentence belongs to paragraph 4. Now let's read paragraphs 3 and 4 in order to understand the details of the story or of the article. While the car was speeding through Paris, Mr. Tyler went through his notes one more time. Then the car stopped in front of a large conference center. Mr. Tyler jumped out of the car with his briefcase and rushed into the center. There, to his relief, he was greeted in English by the conference organizer. "Welcome to Paris," Mr. Tyler said, the smartly dressed organizer, and led John Tyler down a long corridor and into a small room. After giving Mr. Tyler a coffee, the organizer went off to make sure everything was ready. The organizer returned a few minutes later. He told John that everything was ready for him. "Follow me, please," he said. John Tyler got up, checked his tie was straight, and picked up his briefcase. He followed the organizer out of the room. The organizer opened a door and led John Tyler into a large hall full of school children. Exercise number 4. Look at the next two paragraphs, which paragraph 5 and which is paragraph 6. And there is study skill here. Study skill about paragraphs. To help your writing flow, group ideas on the same topic together in a paragraph. Make sure there is a clear link between the content of one paragraph and the next. So we talked about sentences, and there should be linking between sentences, and for this we use linking words. Here in exercise 4 and the previous exercise 3, we focused on how to link paragraphs. The linking paragraphs should be by grouping ideas into one paragraph with same topic. So we have topic in the first sentence to show the or to predict the content of the paragraph. Also make sure there is a clear link between the content of one paragraph and the next. Like to show when we read a paragraph, we should also predict what is the content of the next paragraph. So this exercise is to practice what is the meaning of linking paragraphs. Now we have two paragraphs, this one and this one. One of them is paragraph 5 and the other is paragraph 6. it is required to show or select paragraph 5 and select which one is paragraph 6. Let's go to this paragraph, read it, and then read the other paragraph and decide which one is 5 and which one is 6. This case of mistaken identity was quickly noticed and put right. Both Mr. Tyler Powell and John were put into taxis and driven at great speed to their correct meeting. Fortunately, both presentations were hugely successful hugely successful as they discovered when they were seated next to each other on the flight back to Australia. So, in this paragraph, we need that there is sudden new information regarding Mr. Tyler Powell and John. We haven't know about them in paragraph 4. See, almost this paragraph is not 5. Let us read the other paragraph. John Tyler looked around in horror at the children. Then he heard that organizer asking them to welcome Mr. Powell Tyler. He was going to tell them about kangaroo farming in Australia. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Mr. Powell Tyler was also in a large hall full of people. Powell, dressed in blue jeans and cowboy boots, was starting in order at 200 smartly suited businessmen and women. So, this paragraph is show what happened in the room that was full of school children, because the end of paragraph 4 was about Mr. Tyler when he entered a room full of school children. So this almost paragraph 5 because show what happened. John Tyler looked around in horror at the children. Then he heard the organizer asking them to welcome Mr. Powell Tyler. He was going to tell them about kangaroo farming in Australia. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Mr. Powell Tyler was also in a large hall full of people. Powell, dressed in blue jeans and cowboy boots, was starting in order at 200 smartly suited businessmen and women. It means, so the decision is, this is paragraph 5 and this is paragraph 6. Now we reach to the end of lecture 9. Thank you very much for listening and paying attention. In the next lecture, we will continue to show the varying of the structure by using different tenses, specifically in exercise 5, and then going to talk about the vocabulary development. Goodbye.